We are on Arch Linux, and gaming is supposed to be the best over here, right? Well, the stock experience has been a little bit, let's just say, less than desirable. I'm using a 7800 XT AMD graphics card, about a $600 card, not even maybe a couple months old, and it gets about 60 frames in CyberPunk. That's a problem. One, why is it only getting 60 frames? A lot to be discovered there. The second thing is, whenever I try and launch Helldivers 2, well, it's fine. It launches, and performance is decent, as long as I'm not on Arch. I've tried it on like Bazite, and I'm like, okay, so obviously we need to do an optimization stream on Arch Linux and be able to game properly on this system. And that's what today's stream's about. We're going to be diving into Resizable BAR on the GPU. Look at that configuration. Sometimes it kind of screws up. We need to check that out. So I kind of want to walk through the steps on troubleshooting that. The other thing is custom kernels. The one thing I noticed when I was on Bazite, and I was like, hey, the gaming over here is really good just on stock defaults because they tweaked it. I was like, okay, stock defaults, that's pretty cool. So custom kernel, resizable bar, and we might look at a few other things as well as we kind of look through different optimizations we can make to fix our gaming woes here on Arch, because it should be a fast experience, probably equivalent to that of the Windows counterpart. And that's what's going to happen today. And good morning. Good morning. I know it's a Saturday stream. I don't really stream on these days, but the wife is she's going on a trip with her girlfriend, and she's not gonna be back till tomorrow morning. And I was like, yes, that's where we're going. 3 consecutive days and 3 streams. It's gonna be fun. So that's kind of where we're at. I got my coffee. I already told the kids, hey, don't bother me for at least a couple hours. I'll take them out after. So we should be good. And we also got AMD P-State active and kernel boot parameters. Really helped with my performance and cooling. Okay, that's a good one too. Could be setting the P-State for AMD to something a little bit different. I'll definitely look at that. Yeah, I'm actually using an Intel Xeon, so doesn't really apply in that regard, terminal. That's a good tip, though, for those AMD CPUs out there. I have seen some Linux distributions put it into a more passive performance profile, and that can lead to, obviously, poor performance. Good for power usage, but bad for performance. So that's where we get. Yeah, we could also, so there's also other custom kernels we could do here too. We could do like the Zen kernel. There is an AUR that Steam has public. So if we wanted to use Steam's custom kernels as well, we could do that. However, I think TKG, those TKG kernels, out of all the ones I've done in the past 5-6 years, is the best. Oh, man. Oh, I built my first server today. That's exciting, isn't it? I remember them days. I like to use a lot of hand-me-down stuff. There's a lot of like leftover stuff that's, you know, that's great for learning on. If you're setting up your first home lab and learning servers and things like that, you'd be shocked if you can just go to, you know, any kind of IT shop. They typically have a whole bunch of disposable gear that they're always looking to get rid of. Wine staging is required. Wine fails, runs a ton on apps and games. Well, I want to say wine staging is no longer valid. I think they moved wine to the regular thing. So it used to be all we did was install wine staging, and I want to say that is now no longer the case. Yeah. Let's first, one thing I want to show everybody before we get going is what is our current. Let's get the baseline before you do any kind of optimization here, guys. The big thing you got to look at, what's your baselines? Then you can say, You don't like, well, this feels better. We need to look at our baselines. Let's just launch into Steam. We're going to go runtime over here and see what Helldivers, if Helldivers launches. We haven't tried Helldivers since this new update anyways, so maybe Helldivers is working. I don't think so. Windows is using 20 gigs of RAM. I think I'm also in the background doing a full system backup, so just gonna let that run. We'll see how that goes. I know it's been a lot of streams. Well, I was testing out a whole bunch of stuff on YouTube on the main channel, and I was producing videos every 2 days, and I was like, oh, well, even if you were like kill yourself making videos every 2 days, I didn't see like a huge viewership boost or anything. So I was like, oh, okay. Well, I guess that's just too many videos to produce. So I found that I really liked that kind of aesthetic, or that work, how I was working. And I was like, okay, so instead of filling it in with actually producing a video like today, I'd be like, I'm just gonna do a stream. And then if it makes a good video afterwards, great. Over on Titus Tech Talk, I'll just chop this up and put it up there. And then if it like, hey, that could make a really good 10-minute video that would be real succinct and concise, we'll put it up on Chris Titus Tech. Oh, yeah, I started at 2 a.m. UK time. My bad on that. I kind of just do it whenever I can. Yeah, these optimizations can be done on any system. So nothing is distro specific, and that's it. So that's my thought process. All right, let's see what we got. Also, YouTubers, YouTube chat's a little bit rowdy. I have to warn people in YouTube chat. Don't spam your question. Stefan, I'm not going to answer that question. Stop asking it. Just leave. You spam chat, you get banned. I'm just saying, guys, I'm trying to keep the YouTube folks, and I'm trying to multi-stream, but y'all need to chill. Y'all need to chill with the live stream and then spamming comments. I can kind of get him to answer my question. Some questions I see and I'm like, nah, move on. It's not in relation to today's stream, so we're not going to answer that question. It's going to sidetrack us too much. Love you guys, but come on. Yeah. I gotta say, YouTube live streams always just a hot mess. Anyways, I'm still plugging along. I like to give at least a 30-day trial and go, okay, here's at least 30 days. Let's see if we can't reel it in, and it should be okay. It is. YouTube live streaming is like the biggest hot mess there is. Your streams look bloated. Well, so be it, sir. I know. Here, I'm gonna mod GFY. He's been with us since the beginning. You see anything GFY and you don't like anybody and you want to ban them, you just do it. Add as moderator. You have the ban hammer now. So GFY, anybody gets out of control in there, you just take care of it. GFY's got the ban hammer now. There we go. You ban me. Yeah, we're still figuring out that YouTube live stream stuff. We'll get there, guys. We'll get there. Yeah, Mr. GFY's. I remember seeing comments from him. I want to say before I had 1,000 subscribers on Chris Titus Tech. So he's like OG, way back in the day. All right, testing out Helldivers 2. Let's hit play. Before I was getting an in protect pop up, and then it would just die on me. Let's see what happens. All right, there was an in protect update, and then let's give it like 30 seconds just to see if maybe there's a long delay or something with in protect. Now, if you're not familiar with in protect, it is like a kernel level anti-cheat. It does work, but I think it does require some patches. Yeah. Moderation, and it's just the chat flow as well. So Helldivers does work when we are on Bazite. And Bazite and Nobara, and also the Steam Deck. Helldivers works perfectly. So we know Helldivers runs in Linux, but using the stock Linux kernels on Arch, this is kind of what I get. And if you click on the actual logo here, I wanted to just kind of let it run for an entire minute. You'll see broken in the top section there. It's just broken. And then it never really launches. And you're just like, well, that was unfortunate. Bro, last night you were restoring Arch, now you're Linux gaming. Do you sleep with Linux? Yeah. So what of it? I love it. Well, it's like Linux to me is just fun. It's enjoyable. I love the tinkering aspect of it. Wait, some games may take up to 20 minutes. It's not a bug, guys. It's a feature. Now do Mac OS gaming. Okay, I don't hate myself that much. That's just terrible. Oh, man. Okay. Now we're looking at it. This is obviously not working. Let's just stop it. So that's the Helldivers 2 in a nutshell, what's going on with Arch. So the first thing I want to try and tackle is let's look at Resizable BAR. You might be thinking, what is Resizable BAR? I'm going to pretend like I know what it is, but I really don't. It's part of there. It can screw things up, one, from virtualization, and then also I know sometimes it can cause your GPU to just like choke out when set up improperly. And Resizable BAR, really, we don't look at it at all in servers. Practically ever. At least not me personally. All my Linux servers are just put up there. So the things that Linux lacks the most, graphics and audio. Because in the server realm, we don't care about either. Everything's a headless implementation, and everything just runs. So it's the one thing that kind of requires a little bit of tweaking on a stock community install of Linux. Obviously, there's gaming distros that kind of take care of some of these tweaks ahead of time, as we saw with Bazite. Bazite's actually based on Fedora. Steam OS from the Steam Deck, obviously, that's Arch-based, and that's an immutable, but all those are done really, really well, as you know. So there's that. And yeah, that's the few things. So there are like gaming distros out there. I recommend Bazite if you want just one that you hit up and go. It's good. But let's look at this. Now, I did make a gaming guide about 4 years ago, and it is it needs to be updated. So let's look at Resizable BAR. The first thing I wanted to do was like a D message and grep the bar. The thing we're looking for on this is it'll detect the VRAM, and it also will detect the actual bar. The thing we want is it to match. If it doesn't match, it means Resizable BAR is screwing up bad, and we got to do something else. So let's come over to our terminal, and what we're going to do is just dmessage grep bar. And we're going to need to do that as sudo. You can see Resizable BAR actually looks okay with 16 gig matching 16 gig. I think I might disable this first as our first test and see what happens. We're going to BIOS to disable Resizable BAR and then see what happens with it. The other test I wanted to do for a baseline, one, getting Helldivers 2 working would be nice. The second one is going to be CyberPunk. We're going to just load up CyberPunk, do the base benchmark, and then we usually get about 60 frames because of this card kind of getting gimped by some kind of setting in the background, and I don't know what yet. So let's see what we got. Well, we're gonna just continue without a count. Thanks, I am. There we go. Yeah, I need to set up my own notification server. That's like the thing I've been meaning to do. Alrighty, and I need to play CyberPunk more. I've literally only played, I think, the first chapter, and that was about it. And we're gonna download some more RAM. Alright. Oh, I love it. Well, like a notification server, we can do a bunch of different ways of doing it. We used to do it through Discord, back when we had a Discord. But, I don't know. A bunch of different ways to skin that cat, really. Alrighty, we're gonna go settings. First thing I probably want to do, let's disable copyrighted music, just so whenever I'm streaming out here, I don't actually get copyright claimed when I re-upload my video. And then run benchmark. We're just gonna do the basic benchmark here and see what we get. We should have about 60 frames, but I wanted to at least start the day off with a baseline. Bit rates right now, Oz, I am using 4500, 30 frames. It's not the best, but it's okay. So right here we're getting, it looks like 70, 74. It's actually pretty good. The FPS is looking actually nice. All right. Yeah, well, this is a 7800 XT. We should be in the hundreds. If we were on Windows, this would be in the hundreds. So I wanted to do a baseline check. And then as we tweak, we want to make sure that this number's going up. I know that sounds like such a common sense thing, but you'd be shocked how many people just start tweaking without actually getting their baseline. So we're going to just say, hey, Helldivers doesn't launch. That's a problem. So we got to fix that. And then getting our FPS baseline for CyberPunk just with these settings. And this is FSR as well. So with FSR, we should be well into the hundreds. So this is what we're at, about 68 average FPS. And I think that's decent, but we can do better. So we're gonna exit out of here. And you know what, I'm just gonna kill it. The beauty of gaming on Linux is you can just kill tasks really, really quickly without actually needing to mess around too much. So we'll reboot, disable Resizable BAR, rerun our tasks, see what happens. The big thing here with Resizable BAR, does it interfere with Helldivers? I don't think it will. I think it's something more in the kernel that's causing Helldivers to bomb out on us. The second thing is it affecting our performance? So are we going to get higher or lower or the same on FPS? Could be a cooling issue. It could be a lot of different things. 7800 is also relatively new, and using really new hardware in Linux can be problematic because a lot of times the open source drivers just aren't as developed yet. Yeah, so we'll see. The best portion, you could do the Zen kernel, but I think TKG will give you the most performance out of all the tests I've done, and I've done a lot of extensive tests with custom kernels in Linux. TKG always has the best. It's always the top performer. I have yet to see any test out there that doesn't do better or does better than TKG when it comes to gaming, at least. So if you're a big gamer and you're a Linux fan, by all means, TKG is that. So that's going to be our next thing. Let's first reboot and go into the Resizable BAR. And we're going to disable Resizable BAR. Oh. Excuse me. The thing that's taken forever here too is we're in the middle of a backup. I haven't actually given time shift an entire backup yet, because I have roughly, I think it's a terabyte of data that it's backing up. So that's what's like taking forever on a lot of these backups. We do have a little bit of backup tasks running in the background, and I haven't yet let it just sit and run. Yesterday I made a noob mistake and just shut down right after stream. That was my bad. Is there a difference with the AMD proprietary Pro driver? Well, I think that you could do that. I just don't like the proprietary Pro driver. So I don't really want to go that route. Sorry for the flashbang, guys. This is HP server BIOS, so, you know, hate to say it, this is kind of what we got. Let's go advanced, and we're going to come down into, I think probably graphics configuration. No, yeah, that's fine. Slot settings. Do we have resizable bars disabled? Disabled. Resizable bar. It looks like resizable bar is actually disabled. Yeah, I know I do have... Ooh, okay. And so we have resizable bar disabled here, actually. It's actually not being used. Well, we could enable the resizable bar, see what happens. I want to say, looking at our PCI, like 1 and 2 is the very top. And then I want to say slot 3 will be where our graphics actually are. So, and if we, this option, the card slot supports resizable bars. The system will select the largest possible bar size for each bar. We can try resizable bar. I don't think I recommend this. I usually just disable resizable bar around. You know, that's it. Should give a performance boost, so we'll see. We're going to enable it on our AMD card. I don't want to enable this on the NVIDIA card that we're passing through to Windows, because it can cause issues with that. So I think that will be fine. Just making sure. Slot 3, enable. Current PCI Gen 4, 16 gigs, and we got resizable bar. I think that's good. Let's come back to main. We're going to save, settings, and exit. Yeah, my idea why they make it solid white to cause damage to your eyes is because this is a server distro, and all servers or server hardware, if you're seeing the BIOS screen, typically it's 3 a.m. and you're a sysadmin and you're fighting sleep anyways. So my idea is HP's just trying, it's almost like a cup of coffee. You're just like, oh man, that's bright. And I think that's the idea behind the HP server BIOS. They're just trying to wake the sysadmins up when when booting. At least that's my thought process. Alrighty, here we go. Bright background should be against all terms of service. Oh, wolf security hype. Oh man, I love it. All right, here we go. Oh, this is one of my favorite backgrounds too from Nord. Ooh, so nice. Alrighty. Oh, the keyboard didn't. Keyboard didn't boot. Let's see. There we go. Alrighty. Now we got our keyboard. Neo fetch. Alright, we're booting up. This is what we're rocking. First to try out, we're going to come into Steam again. Yeah, we're back on Arch. The whole stream yesterday was restoration of this system using time shift, but time shift by itself isn't designed to restore partition tables. So we had to like manually rebuild all the partition tables. restore everything after mounting those new partitions using the files on time shift. And then we had to log in and change the UUIDs and like FS tab and get all that going. And then change and rebuild GRUB as well to boot back into the system, since everything got wiped out. It was like a 2.5 hour stream or 3 hour stream yesterday, and it was actually, it all worked. I honestly, I was kind of on the fence whether or not we were going to be able to restore that whole thing and get back to where we were, but everything came back perfect. You know, I was super impressed. It was such a surprise. It was actually a really good stream. All right, first up, Helldivers. I don't anticipate any change here. Having a resizable bar should not affect the launch here. I think it's more of a kernel-based problem. So we'll have that, blah, blah, blah. We'll give it 30 seconds, and then it should bomb out and move on. Oh no, someone donated and didn't even, let me see, I can probably pull it up. Oh yeah. Real Tobinator. Difference between base Linux and versions like Ubuntu. I'm kind of on the, when it comes to Linux, I'm always on the, of the opinion, it's Linux is Linux. You know, you can make anything work. It's just distributions, think of it as different configurations of the same thing. Does that make sense? So it's just a different layout, different options were taken. And that's really the difference between Linux distributions. Just different configurations. That's how you should think of all Linux distributions. Not one's better than the other. It's just a different way of doing things. And that's what Linux distributions is. Linux is the base, that's your kernel. And then it's just, hey, what kind of options did they tack on top of it? So when I say Linux is Linux, that's why I'm like, I don't care if I'm in Arch or if I'm in Bazite or if I'm in Ubuntu or if I'm in Debian. I mean, there's, or even OpenSUSE, we could go Nix OS, we could go a bunch of different ones. At the end of the day, my configuration and look and feel of my system pretty much always looks the same, because I'll go through and be like, oh yeah, I don't like this config, I'm going to change that over. So it always usually ends up pretty much in the same spot. That's why people are always confused going, wait, are you on this distribution or are you on that one? And I'll be like, oh yeah, no, that was last week. All right, Helldivers did not work. No surprise there. Alrighty, next up, CyberPunk. Does it go up or down on our configuration? When we did it the first time around, we got about 68 frames. This time around with Resizable BAR, let's see what we get. We'll hit play and go through this. I don't anticipate much of a jump, if any, with Resizable BAR. That's just my prediction. We'll try Command use D3, D11 next to force DirectX 11. You don't actually need to use the % command though, AH. You can just use -- use -D3, D11, I believe.
Good morning, Night City! Yesterday's body count lottery rounded out to a solid and...
All right, settings, graphics, run benchmark. No changes here. We're just going, hey, this should give us 100 frames. And that's kind of why all those settings just... I'm not going to go all different kind of settings with CyberPunk. We should see what we get. Is Resizable BAR that much of a difference? I think we start around 70 frames before Resizable BAR. This time around, let's see what we get. Around 70 frames. Yeah, I didn't imagine much of a difference here. I got the same PC as you, just not as many GPUs. I got the 7900 XT in the same specs. Okay. Yeah, 7800 has been a great card. I've loved the card. Yep, back to Arch, man. Phoenix, we're rocking Arch. Today we're doing an optimization of Arch so we could get better gaming performance and actually fix Helldivers, because Helldivers 2 is working fine on Bazite, but it is not working on Arch. So we're trying Resizable BAR right now. If Resizable BAR doesn't bear any fruit, which it looks like it didn't really make any difference, if I had to guess, we're going to be right in that 68 frames, plus or minus 1 or 2. Let's see what we get. Yeah, same thing, within the margin of error. So, Resizable BAR didn't do jack. Alrighty. We'll leave Resizable BAR on for this card, but I don't think it really did anything. Next up will be the custom kernel. This is probably where things break. So if you guys are hoping to see things broken, here, this one's for you. Actually, I'll just quit. Alrighty. Hope you don't break it. Come on, you've been here long enough, King Root. You know there's a good chance I'm going to break it. Oh, yeah, let's try the use D3 command. I agree with that, AH. Let's come on over here. We'll do Helldivers. Oh, well, we were already actually using that command. If you look. Well. Usually, there's full screen. Oh, that's floating. What was my full screen command? I think it was... Yeah, there we go. So that's the options we're running right now. We are already using the use 3D command. I don't think you do need a command. Typically, if you're doing variables, like passing like Mango HUD or something of that nature, then you would absolutely want to do a % command. We can add it. Command like this. And that should be good. Now, as far as Mango HUD goes, do we have Mango HUD? Oh, we hadn't installed Mango HUD yet. Oh, well, let's fix that. And we'll also grab lib32 Mango HUD. We could also switch to Proton GE as well. I don't think that's going to bear any fruit. Now, I think we do have Proton Up installed. Yeah, so we have Proton Up already going, and we already have the latest GE 9.4. We can try that for Helldivers. I don't think, again, that's going to make much of a difference. Let's go Mango HUD equal 1. Actually, let's not for this one. We'll do it for CyberPunk real fast. Let's just come back into tiling. We'll close this guy out. Oops. Let's close that out. For CyberPunk, let's change it up a little bit. For launch options, let's go Mango HUD equal 1, and then we're going to go % command. This is just going to force it into showing the HUD. Compatibility. Let's see if Proton gives much, bears a fruit, or changes any of the FPS. Oh, is it not Mango HUD equals 1? Oh, it's just Mango HUD. Okay. I think both work, but we can just do Mango HUD. I think Mango HUD's from the official documentation. If you actually change the variable Mango HUD to 1, I think it also works. But yeah, you're not wrong. This is actually from the official documentation to launch it like that. But how I was doing it also works, albeit not the official way. I don't know. I just like to be different sometimes. All right, let's try CyberPunk once more with a benchmark. This time we're going to be using Proton GE 9.4. And we also installed Mango HUD as well. What's your thoughts on firewall on Linux? Well, if you're security conscious, a firewall is always a good idea. And setting it up to global denies and then opening up any ports that you need to use is always a good idea. Yeah, the other is an environment variable, but it usually puts it up there. Alrighty. What are we gonna get on this one? Y'all like my custom mango HUD? Alrighty. Let's go settings and go graphics on this one and benchmark. Confirm. Yeah, we could go CPU power frequency, but you're gonna notice CPU shouldn't. I doubt we'll even get into 80% usage on the CPU. I don't think the CPU is where we'll bottleneck. Yeah, pretty nice. Good frame times though, very consistent FPS. So if we wanted to play at this, this would be very solid. But you do notice one thing, right? Our GPU is only at 60% usage. Only 60%. During these benchmarks, you want that GPU at 100. Yes, UFW would conflict with Firewall D. You want to pick Firewall D or UFW. Yeah, this is very playable. It's just, it should be better. Right at 68. Again, within the margin of error. Nothing too crazy here. So everything we've done thus far hasn't really mattered. So there's that. So far, we haven't really changed anything. All right, let's, there we go. We'll quit out of Steam. Next up, custom kernels. Does it matter? What is the best custom kernel? Well, it's TK Glitch. Anybody that's been around the Linux scene, TKG is the king of it. It's a Xeon CPU, guys. You guys are obsessing too much on that ADC. Xeon CPUs run a bit hot. So be expecting a little bit higher temps on Xeon. Especially more of a workspace Xeon. Xeon processors are used to just having ridiculous fans. I didn't do that because I had sound concerns. That's why. So what we're going to do, grab this. We're going to grab package builds, and then we're just going to do make package-si. Now you might be thinking, why not just use the AUR? Well, I guess if you have time concerns, sure. But there's a lot of options that TK gives you when you make the package, which is great. So that's kind of the why you do it this way. And it also grabs any required dependencies, and it kind of does a little bit of double checks on your system, and you get a little bit more options. So that's my thought. You could do it in the AUR. I just don't recommend it. And honestly, the more you use the AUR, the worse off you will be. So think of it as doing drugs. That's what the AUR. It's like drugs. It's like heroin. You only want to touch it every once in a while. If you do too much, it's just going to ruin your life. That was such a terrible analogy. It was awful. But don't do drugs, kids. Don't use the AUR too much. All right, let's do a Q. All right. Q. What? How do you just pull the AUR? Let's just do a paru. I can't remember. I think QA, I want to say. So if we do paru QA. No, that wasn't it. Paru Q. Is it QM? Yeah, that was it. So this is what we're using so far. This is too much. What is happening? Oh, okay. We need to slim this down a little bit. Let's get rid of some of this stuff because this is too much to be having in here. HFS, that's when I was doing, I think it was my April Fool's Mac crap. For that hyper picker. That's when I was messing around with Wayland. Nomax I actually like. Nordic Themes fine. Paru's fine. PZip is fine. Thorium. WL Randar. XN View MP. We're already using Nomax. Why do we have both? I don't know what's up with that. Why are we using Yay too? God bless. All right. Let's remove a few AUR packages. We don't want to end up just a degenerate on the side of the road somewhere begging for money because our arch system crashed, because that's what happens when you use the AUR too much. All right, we're a little bit lighter here. Nothing's wrong with Yay. Just pick Yay or Paru. Necro, thanks for the sub, man. Why not use Nix over AUR? I agree with that, Phoenix. Nix packages would be a better solution because it'd be much more isolated, where the AUR will interface too much with the system and Nix has rollbacks and it's more containerized. So much better. Always use the AUR in moderation. Super important. And I use almost everything in here. LACT, I don't use that much, and that's a huge build. So I'm probably going to actually remove LACT. And App Image Launcher, I kind of want to change that out to Gear Lever, because that's what Bazite was using, and I really like Gear Lever. We'll do that later, though. All right, that's looking good. Now we go into build. What we want to happen here is we want to clone TKG glitch. This is gonna add the package builds. You're never gonna. I love my thorium. Come on. All right, we got a package builds from the Froggy family, Froggen family. So then I think we can just go sudo TKG thingy like this. And I think, or actually I think we need to do a make before we do that. Let's see. Yeah, we need to do a make SI. From the directory of the package you want to build, do make SI. I think the package, if you go here, for your convenience, the script is available in the root to pull updates and create external configuration files easily. I think we just run that. I think actually we will do just like a sudo TKG thingy. And what do you want to do? Create missing external configuration files? Huh. I think we need to build it first before we do any of this. I think we're going to exit, actually, because this isn't the actual build. Cool. All right. So we have a couple options. We can do AMD VLK option. We can do AMD GPU Pro Vulkan only, which I think that's the proprietary drivers. We can do Game Scope. We're not using Wayland, so that's out. I think just Linux TKG is what we want. And then from here, I think we just do a sudo install from Linux TKG. A lot of really cool projects in here, but the one we want the most is going to be the install sh. All right. That didn't work. Okay, well. Huh. Unfortunate. This was a quick one. All right. Oh, yeah. Make package first. Dirt. All right, here we go. All right, now we go through and walk through. What do we want to do? I like to just use the default kernel of 0. That's our latest and greatest. 688. So we're going to use 688. Now, what CPU scheduling variant do you want to build and install? Project C, PDS. BMQ is usually a good balance for gaming. So you have these different schedulers. For gaming, we're going to pick Project C. And I don't know. Let's see. I kind of want to go... Do we want PDS or BMQ? Anybody have a preference? One link says PDS is the best one. So I think we'll do PDS. Good enough? Let's roll. All right. What compiler do you want to use? We'll just do GCC. And now we start our compile. How long do you think the kernel will take to compile? It is a Xeon. And we'll see how much this thing is going to probably heat up in here. Yeah, I would imagine 5 minutes. Well, we'll see once the compile starts. Right now, we're just grabbing the actual 6.8.8 kernel files directly from kernel.org. No, it shouldn't be 30 to 40 minutes with this processor. This is a $10,000 CPU workstation meant for like more server-based stuff. So if it takes longer than 10 minutes, I'm gonna be kind of pissed. So let's just see how long the kernel build will be. Once it starts the build, okay. What do we have here? Select your desired CPU microarchitecture. It's on default microarchitecture. I am using... Oh, what is this Xeon? Let's look here. Let's go... NeoFetch. What is this? You name... All right, Xeon W53435X. What architecture is that? I want to say Raptor Lake, right? W53435X. And we're going to go officially here. What is this? Codename Sapphire Rapids. Was that an option? I want to say that is it. Yeah, Sapphire Rapids. Option 41. Okay. Let's give it a whirl. If we look on here, Sapphire Rapids 41. See, this is why you don't use the AUR, because you can specify the exact CPU architecture and then it optimizes for that architecture. So that's kind of cool. Let's go no yield, which would be 0. Recommended option for gaming is TKG default. Yield only for better priority and deadline tasks. Could lead to stability issues on some Intel platforms. Probably not desired. Expired time slice and recalculate deadlines. Could be a good option for low RR interval. I think we'll go with 0, no yield. All right, here we go. Now we can do round robin interval, longest duration, nice level, when CPU time is required for a task, time slice, blah, blah, blah. When using yield type 2, a low value can help offset disadvantages in rescheduling a process to the high yield. I think we're gonna go with 4 milliseconds. So, moving on. Pick a default, aka, let's see. Higher hertz mean lower latency. but higher overhead and less throughput. So it's a bit of a double-edged sword. You could go 1000 hertz, or do we want to go less? Higher hertz means lower latency. Let's go higher hertz. Let's go 1000. I like that. Next, we're going to go use Caparata, or Catarappa mode, tickless, and dyne ticks. No, use periodic ticks. Yes, full tickless. Just tickless idle, please. I feel like tickless idle is what I'd like to use. Number 2. So we're going to use some of it, but not full tickless. Full tickless can give higher performance in case you use isolation of CPUs for tasks. In other cases, it behaves on idle. Okay, I think we're just going to do tickless on idle. All right. Use ACS override patch. We do want to do that. Actually, it doesn't matter because I actually do have really good IO-MMU group separation. I do pass through my GPU. So I'm tempted to be like, yes, but I don't think I'm using any ACS override on my current kernel, so I don't think it really matters. Dragon, thanks for the sub, man. So I think we'll just go no. Although I kind of want to do it. I don't know. Nah, I don't think I need to use it just because my system does proper IO-MMU separation regardless. Although I would hate to not do this and then have to redo all of it. But, all right. We're going to just go shift in and just say no. Open RGB patch. I really don't care about RGB. And now we start the timer. And let's see. RFD mitigations. That's new. Okay. Not sure what RFDS mitigations are. I think we'll probably go yes with this. Yeah, sure. All right, sign modules. Sure. Let's go through. Here we go. When in doubt, if something's like way out of, and you're like not sure what it is, it's best just to go with whatever the arrow or it's prompting you to go with. Don't just go willy-nilly and be like, well, I'm feeling like no to these questions when you don't know what it is. So I'll just go with the stock defaults for the things I'm not familiar with. For advanced users, make config. If you want to configure, so if you want to change some kernel settings from a default build, you can do that. We're not going to. We're going to just say nope. Just build it for us. All right, now we're off to the races. How long's the build gonna take us? The full Linux build. Yeah, it was CPU vulnerabilities. Anytime you see Spectre or, oh, what was the other one? Shoot, it's already gone. A lot of those mitigations I'm like okay with. Oh, there's my fans. It's firing up now. Oh, meltdown. Thank you. Thank you, chat. Oh, I feel like we should have the all of the temperature set on here. I know the temps are probably in the 90 Celsius range. Chat would be freaking out right now. Yeah, we're heating up the room right now. Yeah, CPU should be at pretty much a full bore. Let's come on over. Actually, let's go over here. Let's go B-top. There you go, chat. We're at 100% usage, getting close to 90C. It's kind of good to check your performance when you're doing a big build, especially a full-blown build like this. It's probably good to have performance monitor up just to make sure you're utilizing your cores properly. Some people don't do like a threading properly, and you'll try to make like the Linux kernel with one thread, and it'll take 3-4 hours. It would just suck. So you don't want to do that. So this is what we got over here, building the kernel. How are you using 20 gigs of RAM? Windows. Windows is the answer. Windows is always the answer. Anytime you get 20 gigs of usage, be looking for Windows. Also Chrome, yeah. Any kind of Chromium browser will be using a lot of memory. But yeah, no, it's just Windows in the background here. I don't know if I pull up Windows. Probably should just shut that down, actually. Let's just shut this down while we're doing our build. This application launcher, that's Rofi. Still churning away here. We're about 5 minutes into the build now. A little bit less, but yeah, coming up on 5 minutes for the build. I am going to shut this guy down just so we get all of the CPU. I thought it was shutting down. Shut down. I've looked on DWL, done some builds on it, but I was just like, it's a little too bare bones. I still like my basic DWM. How to SSH into a VM. Just, I guess, depending on how you want to do that, you could do a key or password authent. Just go into etc, look at SSH folder, and you just change SSHD_conf, and you're good. All right, cool. Get that closed out. Should give us a little bit faster on our compile. Yeah, we're slowed down Windows. Now you probably see our memory usage jumped up to 54 gigs free. So we're good. Lots of memory to breathe with now. I was more worried about it using the processor, the CPU on the virtual machine. So that's why I shut it down. Is it possible to run BlueStacks in a WinVM? Yeah, absolutely. You can do everything in a virtual machine that you do in a regular machine. There's nothing off limits. We are compiling the Linux kernel, TKG edition, specified for gaming. We're gonna be a gamer. Yeah. This is gonna be the ultimate arch gaming machine once we're finished with it. You can't run kernel level anti-cheat stuff in a VM. You sure can. You have to hide the fact it's a virtual machine, but most kernel level anti-cheat stuff looks for the virtualization tick in Windows, and you can actually hide the fact that it's a virtual machine from Windows. So then when your anti-cheat kicks in, it'll be like, oh, okay. If you have resizable bar equals 256 megs, disable resizable bar in your BIOS. You will have problems with gaming performance. Valorant's anti-cheat doesn't get fooled like that. Valorant, I know, is a little bit more aggressive. So I get it. There's a spot if you pull up Task Manager. If let's say you're a VM gamer out there, like me, doing like PCI pass-through, you can hide that fact. I think I can't remember the actual tweak, but you can do it in your XML file and basically disable the fact that it's a virtual machine. And when you pull up Task Manager, it'll show that it's not a virtual machine, where most times it does show it's a virtual machine. Yeah, I'm like I said, we could try it. I've never played Valorant, so I don't anticipate much of a problem. Yeah, this is like the Gen 2 build of Arch here, building our own kernel and everything. Don't get Valorant anti-cheat is spyware. Well, that's why we do a VM. Isolate it off, man. Go to the driver section of it. We're getting close to 10 minutes into the build. A little bit heavier on the kernel here. I would anticipate us to be done by now. Well, it depends on your system. If you're doing like if you have a pretty slow system, I would say probably about an hour or two. This is a pretty beefy system, so there's no way it could last 30 minutes. Like, it's just not possible. I would say 15 minutes I'd be okay with. I said I'd already be mad at 10 minutes, but I'm like, well, it is doing a lot. So we'll give it a whirl and see what we got. I think when I was looking, I think, what was it, Linus Torvalds that's had the Threadripper with, I think, 128 cores, or no, 64 cores, 128 threads. And I think he builds it in less than 5 minutes. But I only have 32 threads, 16 cores. So if we times it by 3, we would pretty much equal what he was at, or close to, actually, a little bit less. So 15 minutes, 20 minutes max, though. No way it goes over 20 minutes. And we're already 10 minutes in. Having said that, we'll see. 5 hours later. Insert the SpongeBob meme here. Yeah, never mind. It's already to the end of it. We're wrapping up now. I was about to say, I don't think it's going to take much longer. Yeah, anybody can contribute to the design of WinUtil. The problem is a lot of developers use like Figma, and I don't have access to a lot of libraries because the application isn't compiled. Meaning everything runs from like the raw code. WinUtil is not a program, it's a script. So when you look at the GUI and you're interfacing with Windows Utility, you're interfacing with a script. And most people can't wrap their brain around that. Most Windows users are like, well, don't you have to use like an executable and install the program and then run it? And I'm like, yeah, most times that's how it's done, but you don't have to do that. You can design anything. If you can think it up, you can do it. It's just most Windows stuff and most development, they don't want to do it that way because people could just steal their product and move on. And also a lot of spying and telemetry happens with most programs because they install it and then they have a monitoring thing in the background. This is just how most Windows programs work. So then they can sell their users' data on top of you actually paying for the software. So I don't do either of those things. It's just a script. It runs, builds it using XAML. There's some library access in XAML, but yeah, everything's right there in open source on GitHub. I like that. And it's really cool to see how far that's evolved. Like, I have no idea where it's going to end up now. Like, if you would have said, this is how Windows Utility is going to look 4 years ago when we started that project, I would have been like, you're smoking crack. There's no way. That's impossible. So we're already to territory which I didn't think was even achievable. And it's just showcases the power of open source. I would imagine Windows Utility is better than any AAA title out there from any software company anything you pay $50 for. It just, because of all the contributions, you literally have a team of 130 something programmers that have touched and looked at it, and all I'm doing a lot of times is just going, no, that's too much of a commit, no, that's like a nuke the world commit, that's trash. Okay, here's a good programmer, and I can look at the code and I'm like, okay, this guy actually knows his stuff. He's just changing a couple lines, we're tweaking this specific thing, adding it to it. So you have all these people looking at it over and over, and then at the end of the day I have the final sign off. And that's really what Windows utility is. It's just leveraging like a hive brain type situation, and you just can't get that anywhere else because they don't open source it, and it's not on GitHub. You can't contribute to those big companies that you're paying all that money for, and all they're doing is just taking your money and then farming your data. That's the name of the game when it comes to Windows programs. Oh, yeah. I actually have a video coming out next Saturday about the PowerShell GB. It is... Oh, I redid it all. I spent about a couple days on it. So Pretty PowerShell is about to get a huge revamp. Be looking for that video next week. But I've already committed all the live updates. So now PowerShell does full updates and a lot of quality of life tweaks that's better. So if you run the setup now, it should work without any errors. It was erroring out like a week or so ago, but I fixed all that. For those few people that use PowerShell like me. Win NVIDIA drivers on WinUtil. You can install NV clean install. It's there. Just do a program install, NV clean install, and just have it do it. Done and done. All right, we're in. The compile time was 10 minutes and 30 seconds. And the full system build and everything with all the options and everything took us 21 minutes. That's really not bad for a compile time for the whole Linux kernel with all these gaming options. Pretty sweet. I will take it. That is fantastic. All right, we'll close out of this guy. Close that guy out. All right. How's our... Oh, I feel terrible. But is time shift still going in the background? What about rsync? Oh, okay, look at that. It's actually not going. So, that's cool. Let's reboot. Let's see if we actually get a clean power down this time. I think our time shift actually finally finished. Re-enable the option to not install Chocolatey. I'm trying to think of a clean way to do that, Thomas. We do use Chocolatey to fix quite a few things in the background, specifically grabbing a lot of dependencies from WinUtil, because WinUtil has a tendency to screw up all the time because Microsoft's incompetent. And that's why Chocolatey auto installs now, is because a lot of times we do use it to update the libraries. I'm working on like an independent solution for that, but it's not ready yet. Hopefully soon though. But yeah, it's on my radar though. I would like to not have to do the Chocolatey install. Right now it's just more of a fallback. Alrighty, let's see what we get. We do have a long startup here because of the server workstation, and then also I do have a bunch of NFS network drives that it sits there and kind of waits for those to get queued up and attached, and then it finally boots in. So that's why it is the way it is. If we do a neofetch, well, we're not on the right driver. Shoot. Where did I go wrong? I guess change the default kernel in GRUB. Yeah. Let's list available kernels. available. Kernels. What is that? Arch? All right. Check installed kernels. Okay. TKG is there. So I think we can actually just specify that. Probably the easiest way to fix this is directly hard code it in etc default grub, I would imagine. And then doing a grub make config. And I thought the script would do the make grub and mkinit cpio. Yeah. Interesting. Let's look at the official documentation before we get too crazy here. Before I just go wild, let's look at the official docs. So here's your AUR. It did install the kernel though, and it did build it. So I think we can just reference it in the grub, and I don't think we have to do anything else. Famous last words, but all right, Linux TKG. We got that. Here's the configuration, customization options, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Yeah. So that's done. And then we do install. I think the install script should get us there actually, guys. So if we look, let's just come on over to TKG. And now if we just do install, I think it was just install. Huh. Well, that's odd. Let's look at that again. Can be done probably generic, but if we do that, this is going to redo the make. And just read. Yeah. Yeah. But the problem is I don't want to redo the make. I don't want to wait another 20 minutes. So the actual install script would have worked, but we did a make package instead. So we did this. And if we do a grub make package like this right here, let's see what that does. Curious. Let's just cancel out of that. And you can see the Linux image. It's grabbing it and adding it, but we're just not getting the right image from here. Let's go vim, sudo vim, etc default grub. And if we look here, we got grub Linux command line. We have that. Preload modules. Sure. Timeout style hidden. Actually, I think what we'll do is do menu and change this timeout to 10 seconds. And grub default, we're probably going to change as well. What else we got? We also have disable OS prober. I'm going to actually change that to... Yeah, I'm actually going to change that to true. I don't want to boot into Windows. We're not dual booting in this system. It's all GPU pass-through. You can also hold shift during boot, yeah. Yeah, that should do it. Will it remember it though? I think there's another option here that you can do with grub. I think it's grub default, and there's a way to retain what you're using. Also the recovery. I don't actually use the recovery either. You know what we should do? We should pimp out our grub theme as well. I mean, not that we need to, but yeah, it's just fun to do. All right. For this, remember grub selection, last selection. What was it? GRUB save default equals true. Default saved into default GRUB. So this is what it should be right here. Let's look for those lines. GRUB default. And then I don't see any other lines here. Everything else is commented out. So what this looks like. I'm going to do that. Get rid of that default. So now we have GRUB default equals saved. GRUB save default equals true. And then we have our timeout. For the timeout, I'm actually going to make this 30 seconds. Just in case it takes a while to display GRUB. Sometimes when you feed it through like a mirroring and then the capture card and all that, it does take a little bit. We could also theme it too. For the theming, it's actually kind of cool. I do have that top 5 bootloaders theme that I've used in a long time. But that's good. Now, let's just check this out first. Let's not make too many changes all at once. Now we have our GRUB remade. I don't think we need to do anything else because the script did look like it made the images and already did like the mkinit CPIO and those types of things. So let's reboot and check out what we have. Sudo update GRUB is a Debian command, not applicable for Arch Linux users. It is if you do some cheeky stuff. Fair point. All right, we should be presented with a menu. Here we go. So we're gonna come down. Oops. This is why I did 30 seconds, just in case I needed my other keyboard. All right. Advanced options. And now we have our Arch Linux with TKG. Let's try and load it. Well, I don't think so, because it didn't wipe out the old kernel. Worst case, we could always just switch back kernels, right? Yeah, that worked good. Like it. All right, now if we do a neofetch, there's our TKG kernel. Beautiful. Right? And we're in. Alrighty. The one other thing I wanted to check too. Let's do a virtual machine manager. I wanted to see if this broke our pass-through as well. That's another thing I was a little bit concerned about. Does look like it started the VM. And we'll see if Windows 11 pulls up here. Yeah, if we could get 69 FPS this time, that would be a win. This kernel is just a little bit more optimized, yeah. When it comes to Zen, there's still a lot of good optimizations and a lot of overlap between the two kernels. But with TKG, like, we looked up our processor and said, hey, this processor is going to be Sapphire Rapids. And it uses this architecture, and we want this type of scheduler. So you can get a little more of a fine-toothed optimization with TKG. That's why you use TKG, if you want to squeeze out every bit of optimization, because you can, instead of doing like this overview generic optimization that everyone does with like a Zen kernel, you can get a little more granular and like, hey, I don't care about like all that AMD CPU stuff. I'm using an Intel. Let's optimize it for our Intel system. And that's why we do what we do with this. So you do get a little bit better on using your own kernel. So this looks like it's working. Let's come on over here. Do we have Looking Glass? Yes, we do. Does look like everything's working. And it feels pretty snappy too. Man, all right. We got our GPU pass through. We don't have any problems. Someone was mentioning Valorant and that what I was talking about earlier. Oh, I think that's under performance. You can see where it says virtualization down here. virtual machine equals yes. You can actually do some optimizations. So it'll say no. If like an anti-cheat, and you want to get around an anti-cheat, you can hide it as a virtualization and do it all through pass-through. So don't feel like you have to do it that way. All right, cool. Our pass-through is working great. This is looking very, very good with our custom kernel. Now, the moment of truth. Was all this for naught? Are we still just going to get 68 frames per second in CyberPunk? Will Helldivers 2 actually launch now? These are all very good questions. Let's go to library. Let's go Helldivers 2. If we look at the kernel here, we are using this. Let's go ahead and put Mango Hut on, just in case we do get into game. Compatibility, we are using Proton 8-23. Let's switch that to 9.4 or 9-4. Close out of that. All right. Helldivers 2 with a custom kernel. Do we still have the broken in protect? Here we go. Does it launch is really the big thing. I just want it to launch. That's all I want. If it could launch, that would be fantastic. Now I know when you're doing Helldivers 2, the launch process on Linux is a little longer, but shouldn't be longer than like 30 seconds. I don't think so. Darn it. Nope. Nope. I don't think we have that. X11 is your problem. Yeah. I think in this instance, X11 is the one probably holding us back. I think the old in protect and how this one's done, it just really doesn't like X11. Oh, sad face. Just not going. Although with Bazite, I was on KDE with Xorg, and guess what? It's still launched. It's still launched with X11 on Bazite. Yeah, it was a little bit delayed. It did take like 30 seconds, but I think this one is a no-go. I just don't think we're going to get a launch at all. And Helldivers works on Steam Deck as well. Bazite on this system configuration, it also did work. And that's the beauty of a lot of those gaming distros is it's I don't know what could possibly be the issue here. Do like a Jovian Nix OS. Yeah. That's a bummer. Yeah, that's actually a good idea. Launch Steam from terminal and then look for any missing packages or something in the back end. Yeah. Is there any log that it has? Let's say local files. If you browse the files, let's just take this over into Workspace 2. If we look at the files, do we have anything like bin? No. What about data? Data looks like, is there anything here? Settings.ini. Maybe we force windowed mode. Maybe it's trying to launch in like full screen mode or something. What if we just Vim settings? We have this full screen output, full screen false, prefer HDR false, render resolution -1, -1. Borderless full screen true. DX12 vsync false. Proton log equals 1 and then do the command. Okay, we'll try that. Let's work with that. Render resolution. I almost feel like hard coding this in though. What if we did like a 1920 by 1080 right here instead of the -1s? We could also try and disable full screen, borderless force full screen, and just go straight full screen by modifying this settings INI. I don't see anything else here though. Yeah, -1's default display res. Full screen is broken. All right, well, good enough. Don't use full screen. Yeah, well, we're using borderless, it looks like, from this settings config file. All right. Good to know. Let's try Proton. We're going to go to compatibility general. Instead of Mango HUD, we're going to go Proton. Was it Proton log? I think it was. Yeah, Proton underscore log 1. So underscore log equals 1 for an environmental variable. We're using use. Here, let me come on over. We're using this full command. I don't see the INI calls for D3, D12. Your launch does D11. Could be the problem, Necro. We could remove this section. Let's try to relaunch real fast. Well, we could remove that. Let's just do this stock, right? And just play it without any settings. And then once it crashes, we can look at the Proton log. We could try it on a different desktop environment too. Could be DWM maybe. The log's going to be at home folder gameid.log. Thank you, RPG. Can't launch it with Gamescope. Gamescope requires Wayland, and we're using Xorg. Yeah. Give it about another 15 seconds. That should be enough to collect enough log data. And usually this inprotect actually disappears after another 5 to 10 seconds. Yeah, there it goes. Yeah, we're going to check the Proton log. It should be in our home folder under the game ID. And hopefully we'll get something. We could also try Proton Experimental. Right now we've tried 2 versions of Proton GE. We've tried 8-23 and we've also tried Proton 9-4 for Glorious Egg Rolls Proton. So we'll hit stop here. We're going to come back over into here. Do we have a log file? Look at that. There's our log file. Vim steam dash log. What do we got? All right. We're using kernel write watches, blah, blah, blah. fsync up and running. Using kernel write watches. Trace. Let's come down a little more. Warning. Let's look for an error. Okay, no error. Just warnings, it looks like. Let's see. Let's go to the bottom. Sure. Skipping destruction, blah, blah, blah. Git module, file name, exa. App policy, getting process terminate method, fix me, kernel base. All right. Build module, psapi.dll. Loaded. Native. psapi.dll and wintrust.dll. Game guard. It looks like it's trying to load it. I don't see any specific errors. We do have some fix me's, but that's every line launch. Yeah, it's a little bit too much on the info. Usually you get like an error or something like that. Yeah, the logs don't look that useful yet. At least I don't see anything that jumps out at me and go, ooh, I need to look at that. Closest thing I can think of is fsync. That's the thing that kind of strikes me is the TKG I don't think it gave any options for fsync. And I think We could try to pull the fsync mod directly from Steam's AUR. I think it's the kernel itself. Eh. Alright, I don't see anything. Alright, let's quit out of that. The kernel Bazite uses, I think it's a custom kernel, but it does use the fsync patch. I think it's very similar to what Steam uses. Search for ERR. Okay, we can try that real fast. Let's just ERR. Enabling heap 0 hack. Next. Heap 0 hack. Alright, heap 0 hack. Heap 0 hack. Do we have anything else? Let's just override. Alright, here's another error. Kerbos. LSA. No Kerbos support. Expect problems. No NTLM support. Alright. And then we got another loader init enabling heap 0 hack. A lot of authentication, whether it's Kerbos and LTLM, but I don't see how that would be an issue. And I have no idea what the hell heap 0 hack is. Does seem like these same 3 errors are popping up though, whether it's Kerbos, NTLM, or heap 0. Those are, it seems to be the 3 that repeat. So the first one that we got was the enabling heap 0 hack, and then the second one that was an error would have been the Kerbos error, and then we also got an NTLM support error. Those are the 3 errors in the Proton log file. Yeah, 6.10 might get the new NT sync. Okay. You need VK3D Proton package from the AUR. VK3D. Let's look at it. Paru S. Let's search VK3D. What packages are available? I don't think we have that. Yeah, I think you're right there, Slider Spy. I think TKG does have fsync enabled. VKD3D. Okay, VK3D is installed, 32 bits installed. Now, there is the Proton bin WinDLL binary files we could install from the AUR. We have, what else is in here that we might want? I don't know. If I was going to pick one, it would probably be, looking at the popularity score here, it would be the VKD3D-Proton-bin. That would be the one I think I will install. Or you could do... okay. All right, Alinus who says use the base VKD3D. Not VKD3D Proton, but just the base VK3D. Okay. Let's try it. VKD3D-git. And then we'd probably also will need to build the lib32 VKD3D-git. lib32-VKD3D-git. This is 100% a compositor problem. Switch out of DWM. Hey, I don't want to give up on DWM. It's my baby. Okay, everyone, I know everyone's like, just switch. But I really, I just want to make it work in DWM. Have a good one, Sarah. All right, here we go. Let's try it. We're going to build VKD3D. Let's proceed to the review. Accept the changes. Looks good to me. Let's make it happen. We're building VKD 3D. We used to do, what was it, DXVK all the time. Whatever happened to DXVK? 4 years ago, when I did the ultimate gaming tutorial, that was part of my dependencies check that I would always install. We'd do wine staging, and then we'd also grab DXVK. Probably not needed these days. I think wine staging is now pretty much just wine, because everyone just installed wine staging. And now DXVK, I think, is baked in by default, not really needed as a dependency any longer. You generally want to be using the Proton one, and the Proton will use DKV 3D if you're doing weird stuff. All right. Well, if this doesn't work, we'll uninstall these VKD 3D and the 32-bit package as well. Does look like we got a couple warnings there to look at, and don't see any errors just yet. Oh, look at that. It looks like the 32-bit get... oh, okay. So we do have VKD 3D installed by default, but it's version 1.10. Ooh, I think we cancel out. Yeah, lib32 is enabled. Let's think about this. I don't think just going up a subversion of 1 for this binary package is going to net us anything. I think we don't install this and we go to the Proton package. I think we're going to just cancel. Let's do a QM real fast just to see. Yeah. And if you do a paru -q, and I'm going to grep VKD 3D, you can see we already have these versions of VKD 3 installed. I think we do want the Proton versions of VK 3D. I'm going with my gut here. We're going with the Proton bin right here. And it doesn't look like the Proton VKD 3D has a... All right. We're going to go with Proton bin. And we're going to go yes. Let's see what this gives us. All right. So now we have the Proton bin. Let's try to relaunch now and see if that gives us anything. Everyone's like, oh. So now if we go look, and if we go QM, we'll have... yeah, let's see, where is this? Yeah, Proton bin at the bottom. All right, let's try it. I mean, I don't know at this point. Maybe it'll work, maybe it won't. We'll try a different Proton as well before trying anything else. We'll try experimental Proton in the next run, and we'll give it a whirl. Could be the Glorious Egg Roll version that's given us a problem as well. A little bit of a headache. I think Steam shouldn't need a relaunch. Usually it just goes. Yeah, Proton DB just basically says use DirectX 11 as an option, which we can try after this as well. We've got a couple things to work through here. OpenGL, I don't think we have any dependencies on that. You want to do, okay. Alina says after that run wine prefix and then do a VK3D setup install. Interesting. So the wine prefix that like Helldivers 2 would use would actually not be in the default prefix folder. I believe it would ignore it. Alrighty. Because Proton and wine, although pretty much the same thing, they're not. They work a little different. You could probably use like Proton tricks or something like that. And just for completionist sake, let's grab that option for DirectX 11 conversion from 12. If we look, let's pull up Proton DB. Because a lot of people aren't playing Helldivers on this, so I know it works. And gold, huh? All right. Yeah. Use DX3D. It is using, this guy's using Proton 9-4, 9-4, 9-4. Almost all of them have that. Now, we could do like game mode run and some other stuff here. That seems a little excessive, but well, we can try it. All right. Yeah, I shouldn't need game mode. Agreed. So let's switch over. We'll add this option. Close out. Before we relaunch, we're going to quit, exit Steam. And we're going to relaunch Steam from terminal. This will spit out some. If you look at Steam, I think we can do Steam runtime. And that should give us launch into it, maybe. Here we go. It swallowed up the terminal, which is what we want. Come back into our Helldivers 2. So then after this one fails, what we can do is just quit out, and then the terminal should pop up after, because it swallowed our terminal. That's a little patch I did for DWM. So anytime you launch from terminal, it just swallows it. So nice. Yeah, we'll change Proton as well. Alrighty. Oh, I think I only have a couple hundred games on my Steam profile. 279 actually. And I don't think we got any love on this one. It probably will disappear here shortly. We'll exit out. I'll hit stop, and then I'm just going to kill the process of Steam with a force quit, just so all of our errors and things will be standardized. All right, this is done. We'll stop, confirm, kill Steam. What do we have? What is going on here? Error ld.so. Okay, this is good. Game overlay renderer. Error ld.so object ignored. That's a good error. I think this, we're missing a library. I think that's what's causing this not to work. Let's see. I am hopeful. All right. LD preload, blah, blah, blah. I think it's a library we're missing. Take a look here one more time. Game overlay renderer cannot be preloaded. Wrong elf class. Error LD. Okay, one more time. Game overlay renderer. Looks like you're trying to run 32-bit. Blah. This is 64. I don't think that's quite it, but Sudo ld config. That's interesting. But, So the interesting thing here, when we look back on this error, you see how it's referencing Ubuntu 12-_32 and also 1264? That is kind of interesting to me. Let's see. This might be a little hacky, but what if when we're looking at this error, okay, it's there. What if, yeah, the file exists. Need to install lib32 Proton libs? I think so. That's kind of something simple like that. So probably lib32. Yeah, if we look at Steam, might actually limit that down to grep lib32. I don't think there's a lib32 vkd3, but let's take a look. Is there a 32-bit? There's this one. And then there's this one as well. Let's try that lib32. Let's go Paru. Because we have the 64-bit already in. It just feels like a missing library to me. I literally have somebody weed whacking outside my house. And I'm like, dude, I didn't hire any lawn people. So what the hell? It's my neighbor. Oh, well. So be it. Like, come on, man. I'm streaming here. Do your lawn work later. All right. Let's try this now. Oh, that's funny. All righty. We're going to do Steam. I don't think... Can we run Steam direct? We're not going to run Steam through the runtime this time. We're going to try to do it direct. Jimmy, thanks for the sub. All right, here we go. Helldivers 2 with lib32. I don't have much hope for this. We'll try it. And I think we still have to try Proton Experimental instead of 9-4. However, I just don't feel like that's going to do anything because of Proton DB and so many people using 9-4 GE on this one. So many people are using 9-4 with Helldivers 2 successfully. Yeah, you could run the exe directly from Wine. That's another option. Just bypass Proton altogether. I just hate to do that. We also do need to check our performance in CyberPunk and see if the TKG kernel gives us anything extra compared to our stock experience. Because that's another thing. Are we going to get the 68 frames in CyberPunk is another thing we need to check with the TKG kernel. So, same old, same old. Not much of a different story here. We stop it. Oh, heck. Let's just let it run for like another minute. Maybe I'm just being impatient. You could also do a Pac-Man, Steam native runtime, and then Steam native. That's true. Let's look at the resource usage. I like that. Let's just kill that. Let's just B-top it. Resource usage. We have Helldivers 2 is taking up a good bit of resources, about 1% on the CPU. So it is running in the background, it looks like. Maybe it's been running all this time. We just can't see it because of our window manager or the compositor. That's also what chat was saying, so it's possible. Just don't want to believe that. Wait. I got an idea. What about... You remember how I was like, hey, the swallow command is amazing and it swallows up the prompt when we're launching Steam from the terminal? What if Helldivers 2 is actually running in the background and it just swallowed it? Because if you look here, it is saying Helldivers2.exe. It is using some CPU. Not much. 0.6% of the system. But it is gobbled up a little bit of memory, about 125 megs. And you do have Wine Server and Wine Device both running. What if it's just gobbling it? It's a greedy little goblin, maybe. A little patch I did swallowed up my game. It's possible. strace-tt-pid and then see what it's doing. Okay. Let's see what we got. Let's just do a ps aux real fast. Rep hell. Divers. What PID are we using? Got a couple PIDs to choose from here. Looks like Helldivers 2 towards the bottom, maybe? So you got the launch wrapper. You got this wrapper. You got wait for exit. Oh, heck. I don't even know. Which one's the actual PID that's in usage, maybe? Maybe the one that's using the most CPU? 50234. Okay, this one right at the bottom. Okay. So let's try that. Well, let's do the strace -tt-p 50231. Okay, no such service anymore. Maybe it's the 4910. Okay, strace attached to process. Yeah. It's not doing a whole lot of anything. The PID's like, yeah. Not much going on. Huh. Oh, wait. We got something. Yeah, we should see more activity. It seems like over here we have to do it. Try rebooting. Yeah, this ain't Windows. That's not going to work. All right, let's do CyberPunk while I think of something else. Let's do our benchmark and see if we get any more than 68 frames. Because that was one thing with this custom kernel. Does it actually give us anything better? Just install KDE. Ugh. Nah, I'm good on KDE. We're going to skip that. No, the PID would be unique. Every time you relaunch it, you're going to get a different number, so it wouldn't be in relation to your app ID at all. Yeah. Actually, Goat, we started out with KDE when we started, did this. Let's go settings, graphics, benchmark. All right, here we go. Taking bets on if the FPS is any bigger or lower. I'm going to say it's about the same. I don't anticipate really custom kernels giving that much of a difference. Maybe 70 frames. Is the custom kernel worth it? Here we go. Oh. Oh. Old TKG pulling through with us. That's a damn bit better. Out of everything we've tried today, I'm gonna say TKG custom kernel, if you're gaming on Linux, is really what you should be doing. Now, I have noticed the frame time is not as smooth, though. We're getting a lot more frames, but I did see a couple little bumps there. So probably smoothing out those frame times would be good, so you don't have the jitters. But this is a damn bit better. I'm gonna say that's a probably 20% better. I'm gonna say 85 average FPS coming from like a 68, almost 20 more FPS probably. 93. Wow. Okay, that's a huge jump from going from 68 to 93. The 1% low is pretty rough though. Yeah. We did have some frame stutter with it, so that's not the best. But still, if we lock the FPS, it would be perfect. Yeah, and honestly, we're using a 60 hertz monitor. So if we got 60 hertz monitor, probably what we would do is, let's come down. Actually, that's probably under the graphics settings or video. Is it max FPS? Yeah. So what I would do here is probably bring this probably 60. And then you just have a solid 60 frames. That'd be good. Yep, I'm wrapping up. All right. The natives are getting restless. They need food. Daddy's playing video games. Come back later. So yeah, I think this would probably smooth out a lot of the frame time. Anytime you get those mountains going from like a 60 frames, capping that would also keep your GPU and CPU kind of in line. But a huge bump in FPS, so I did not anticipate that. So the Helldivers 2, I'm going to probably come back to it. The last thing we can try here, just as a final ditch effort, Proton Experimental. Just coming in, changing that from GE to Experimental. Let's hit play as our last hurrah of the day. Oh, well, it's a Xeon processor, Necro. A lot of people are obsessing over the thermals, but when you throw a Xeon in a workstation, you're going to get some pretty hot results. Especially since I don't have, like, the cooling in this thing's not the best. You can get it. I downloaded and we did a direct compile, Yusuf. Yeah. Well, all I can say is InProtect can suck it. I hate it. Hate it, hate it, hate it. I don't know what else to try. We've tried different kernels. We've tried Resizable BAR. We've tried different launch options. We've looked at the logs. I feel like there's just like a library missing, or maybe it's launching and we're actually should be seeing it in game. It's just not there or something. Like maybe it's like hidden. Like let's just take this, push it. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know what to say. Could be a DWM option. Do we have another? Let's see. One more quick check. Kids can wait. I know they're hungry, but 1 second. Share X sessions. One more time. One more check. One more check. I lied. We're just gonna flip over here real fast. I'm just curious. I just want to try it. We'll just try it on KD. That was the last thing that someone mentioned in chat that we haven't tried. You hold your tongue. Nuke DWM. No. Banned. We never nuke DWM. We're just doing this as a trial. No, we don't say those. That blasphemy here. DWM's the best. It's the best. Besides, this is not even working, so it's not DWM. Yep. And it was not DWM. It is something else. Something else altogether, guys. And that will have to wait for another day. With that, I hope you all have a fantastic weekend. I'll be seeing you. I just wanted to try some optimizations today just to try and kind of squeeze out those few things. I think the TKG kernel is worth doing, especially if you're gaming. That worked incredibly well. As far as anything else today that we tried, Resizable BAR didn't really seem much difference. Tried a bunch of different AUR packages that I'm probably going to go back through and uninstall so they're not just hanging out. And yeah, I don't know what happened. Something with our config though. There's something that SteamOS and Bazite's doing that I'm not on Arch. Hopefully I can figure that out because I don't know what that is. So with that, have a great one. Peace all.